Good morning. I was looking through my computer and I found a story that I had written years ago. I haven't touched this since 2013. And of course, it's not finished. I just put it on the back burner. But I thought you might get a kick out of where my mind was in 2013. This book, it just come to me. I was listening to the song called Soulshine. And in that song, this book came to me. And it had nothing to do with the song. It was just, I heard that music and it made this story appear in my head. I kid you not. I temporarily titled it Soulshine. That's not going to be the title if I ever finish it. But chapter 1 is called The Traveler. Now, this is the book that I actually had someone, I would post it on little tidbits on Facebook, and I had someone comment to me, message me and says, "You are talking about my family, aren't you?" And no, I wasn't. I don't know your family. I hardly know you. And I don't know where it came from. It just popped in my head when I heard the song Soulshine. All right, chapter 1, The Traveler. The long black limo eased its way down Highway 49, passing the likes of many 18-wheelers and pickup trucks hauling hay or feed bags along the way. The stares from local town folk and travelers that frequented any well-used road always drew a smirk from the chauffeur. Many passers-by would comment that it must be the governor. This was quite the contrast from the boy-crazed girls who would squint to catch a glimpse through the tinted windows of a movie star that might rescue them from small-town life, as if they even stood a chance. But they were allowed to dream about the only hope they had of leaving this broken-down remnants of a once-thriving town of the past. In the 60s and 70s, the agricultural school would bring many students from far away. At that time, the school took tuition from foreigners. Therefore, the teacher's salary was ranked highest in the state. The local train station in the middle of the town provided the perfect opportunity for hard-working farmers to ship out their produce. Even the loggers were welcomed among the well-to-do class, being that the lumber business brought many jobs, and with the jobs came the ability to buy just about anything sold in this small town. The mayor often commented when he was frequently interviewed by the local newspaper, "If you don't have money in this town, you're just sorry white trash." Everybody knew who those comments were aimed. Down at the end of Main Street, past all the painted houses with their well-kept yards, way past the school, which sat high on a hill in the middle of 300 acres of pasture land, even past the old black church, was a gravel road that veered off to the left. It was formerly called Backside to Perry County Road because it headed towards Higginston, a similar yet less fortunate small town. It was about 4 miles down this winding road that one could find a narrower, hole-ridden dirt road off to the left side. There were 4 small houses closely crammed together on 5 poorly nourished acres. A weathered barn housed the family's half-starved cows and 15 chickens. When times were better, a few goats and sometimes a bull roamed the property, but mostly the times were poor, always poor. 3 generations lived amongst each other. The Thrash family was a victim of alcoholism back before it was given the proper name. Grandfather Wilbert Trash was a traveler who stumbled upon Miss Jessie Mae Walker after he literally was thrown off the train, shortly after the conductor found him sleeping off a drunken spell in one of the boxcars. Miss Jessie Mae, daughter of the prominent Walker mercantile owner, Samuel, and his lovely wife, Olivia, was walking home from a tea party given by the ladies of the Baptist church honoring the newest pastor and his newlywed wife. It was hard to believe someone of Miss Jessie Mae's character would have anything to do with the stumbling drunkard who whose face was covered with blood and clothes didn't have one clean inch on them. The pure odor of the fool would make the strongest stomach heave. At first, he startled her with his moans and staggering stance. He was smitten with her at first glance, even before she offered him the remaining cookies left on the glass tray she was carrying. Although the properly dressed 17-year-old looked like money, her beauty definitely needed to be in the eye of the beholder. Many of the Marian-aged beaux who, at the suggestion of their parents, tried to court the unattractive only child, but none could get past the red-haired, freckled-faced, bone-skinny body. No matter how fancy she was dressed or how much money she had, Miss Olivia tried everything short of purchasing a husband through the catalogs. No one seemed to fancy their little girl. Adding to the problems was the fact that she was useless in the kitchen. Despite constant efforts from the Walker housekeeper, Miss Jessie May lacked in the department of cooking. Everyone at First Baptist knew of her hideous baking skills. The congregation always made a courteous attempt to enjoy her salty brownies or her brick-hard cookies. Sometimes the smallest of the church members would make awful faces when trying to get down the bitterness. Spitting out food at church functions was strictly forbidden. Maybe it was the way he carried on about her brownies is what caught her eye. But truth be known, he was just starving, and even cardboard would have been filling. She carried the stinking traveler to her daddy's store in an attempt to help him. Mrs. Olivia was the first to notice him, or rather smell him. She was sniffing out what she assumed was a dead rat coming around the middle aisle of the store. Blessed Jesus, what on earth is that rancid smell? She was shoving the straw broom under the shelves, trying her best to find the varmint. Mother, I'd like, but Miss Jessie May's sentence was cut short. Jessie May, not now. Help me find that smell before the afternoon folks come in. Mrs. Olivia always kept a clean store. It was spotless. On Tuesday, the local women would stop by to view the new shipment of goods that would arrive every Monday afternoon via train from major cities everywhere. Even if you hadn't ordered anything from the catalogs, it was fun to see what the neighbors were getting. Mother, I'd like you to meet, but again, the sentence was abruptly ended as Olivia Walker began shooing a filthy man out of her store with the end of her broom. Samuel, she hollered, get in here. Between the force of the broom and the screams coming from Jessie May for her mother to stop, the unwelcome traveler stumbled out of the front door and right in front of the afternoon crowd. The ladies began screaming as the stunned man landed on his backside and in plain view of the undergarments of the one and only Mrs. Douglas Burrell, the sheriff's wife. With one swat from her oversized purse, he was out cold. The poor old soul didn't wake up until 2 hours later. Needless to say, he was relieved to be out of the hands of Mrs. Burrell, but sure surprised to find himself behind bars. Not everyone had air conditioning back then, and the hot jail cell only added to the aroma of the traveler. When the sheriff made it back to town, Wilbert had his first bath in weeks. Why? The new pastor of First Baptist Church and the deacons took up a small collection to get the man back on his feet and on his way. Soon the ladies of the Baptist Church found out the Methodist Missionary Women's Group pieced together enough of their husband's old clothes to give him a comfortable wardrobe. They would not be outdone. The local barber was pestered until he gave a free haircut and shave. The ladies also packed enough food to feed an army for days. Even Mrs. Burrell insisted her husband buy the man a ticket for the next train leaving that afternoon. Because it was approaching election time, he did. Everyone gathered around for his departure. The local newspaper took a picture of him standing beside the church women right in front of the train. Husbands were beginning to gripe about suppers being delayed, but the women had important Christian work to do. The look on everyone's face was priceless when the traveler decided to stay. He missed the wrap of Mrs. Burrell's purse by only inches. As he walked over to speak to Jessie May, she was so smitten by the man 8 years her senior, she couldn't hear her mother's voice demanding her to leave immediately for home. It wasn't until her mother grabbed her by the arm did she actually move. As the crowd wandered away in small groups of 2 or 3 people, it didn't take long before the traveler was left by himself and the train already departed. The pastor and his new wife offered a place to stay for the night. After all, it was the Christian thing to do. Before long, the traveler was taking odd jobs at the church. Despite constant arguing from her mother, Jessie May was more determined to talk to him. When Wilbert began sneaking around the house late at night talking to Jessie May, Mr. Samuel threatened to join the Methodists and take his tithes with him if the pastor didn't run the good-for-nothing fool away from this town. When the pastor refused, the walkers strolled past the Baptist front steps in plain view as they made their way 2 blocks over to the Methodist church. Jessie May hated the Methodist church, mostly because she couldn't sit near Wilbert. What she saw in that man was beyond normal reasoning. The weekly ladies of the Baptist church meeting focused on constant prayer for Jessie May. There you go. Hope you liked it. Like, subscribe, share. Tell your people.